Hey guys, it's Roger with Tree Life Tree Service 584 Tree, where we go out on a limb for you. Today we're just going to be talking about log splitters and saving for the off-season wintertime. I know you guys are probably wondering like why I'm buying log splitters, why I'm building log splitters. I really don't need any more log splitters. I have plenty. But I'm trying to make it as easy as possible to split wood. And I'm sure you guys know, like, splitting wood with a wedge, an axe, a maul, and a chainsaw is very hard work. So that's how I started doing it. And I progressively learned that the more equipment you have, the easier it gets. So within reason, I mean, I know like some of these guys on the YouTube channel, it's like they just start and they have like $500,000 of equipment splitting wood. It doesn't work like that. We started with splitting wood with a couple of log splitters I bought used, you know, for a couple $100, and then got them running, did some welding work on them, and then eventually kind of graduated to buying a log splitter from Farm and Fleet that was on sale, and we had a credit card. It was like 0% interest for a year, and the log splitters were on sale. I think they were normally like $1,200. They were on sale for like $1,000. So I figured use them or rent them out. You could rent them for like $100 a day. I figured 10 days would be paid for them, but we never ended up renting them out. I used them for quite a few years and then sold them, and then eventually we got the kinetic energy log splitters, and we still use those, and one of them's like 8 or 9 years old, and the other one's like right close within like a year. Maybe it's like 7 years old or whatever, but they're both almost 10 years old. So they've lasted 10 years, and I figured they're knockoffs. They're not the original. They were a copy design off the original Super Split. So I figured, you know what, if the generic ones, the knockoffs, last 10 years, just think, and they were not taken care of. I had a lot of people using them that were abusing them, and we did have to replace a few pinion gears and shafts, but they're still working. So, and now we're pre-splitting. So I think there was a couple people I talked to that had super splits that had them. I mean, they've been splitting for 10, 20 years, and they still have it. They're still using the original super split, maybe a new belt here or there, but no main gears have went out. So I know it's possible if you take care of them, they'll last. But another reason that I'm making this video is because a lot of guys, they, you know, I guess you just kind of stop at a certain point. You make enough money, or you have enough equipment to where you're good, you don't need anything else. But you have to think of also too, when you have a tree service, the people who work for you or do side jobs for you or whatever, your metal fab guys, some of those people, they don't save their money for the winter time, you know. And so I try to save enough to where you know, I can have projects done in the wintertime, which helps everyone out, not just, you know, I'm not saying I just save money just to give away in the winter, but a lot of people, you know, need that little extra income. And, you know, during Christmas time, the holidays, if you're not working, you can't buy gifts and stuff, or you can't take care of the people that, you know, your loved ones and your family. So that's another reason why I try to come up with ideas, and I really enjoy having things fabricated, having things built to spec, having things made to make our life easier, because also too, you got guys splitting wood. It's not the easiest thing to do. It's loud, it's noisy, you know, you get dirty, it's dangerous. So you try to eliminate, you know, as many obstacles that make it unpleasant to make firewood. And it's been probably 10 years ago. One of my buddies had a 5-point hitch log splitter that they didn't use. It was at his brother's house, and I was looking on the internet and I was looking for something that would help us to split wood, and I couldn't find anything. And all we had was mini skid steers, and everything they had online was like for big skid steers, and they were expensive. And so I was like, man, it's like, I wonder if our mini skid could, you know, accommodate and push a log splitter. And so I knew that it would be impractical. Most of the log splitters that you see online, the attachment plate is in the back and the log splitter is in the front. So you have a mechanical disadvantage when you have a smaller machine. You can't pick up whole logs, or, you know, when the log's away from you, it's just you don't have the ass and a mini skid to pick it up. So I'm pretty good at, you know, seeing potential in things. And so we had an old beat up log splitter that was on its last leg. It was leaking hydraulic fluid. The engine was old. Everything about it was just, you know, I bought it for like $200 or $300. It barely ran, but it worked. I think it was maybe homemade, or just it'd been, you know, welded together a few times, and, you know, things fell off. We welded it back on, and so it was a good candidate to for our first try to make a log splitter. So we cut it apart, but I didn't want to ruin the log splitter, so we cut it apart to where we could put it back together. And we kept the hydraulic pump and everything, and built a little stand for it. So to this day, our first log splitter that we built, it still works. We can still use it on the skid steer. It's just a small version of what we have, and we can still put it together and use it as a log splitter, which we don't, but I still have all the parts. I kept everything for it, and it's kind of like, you know, our first log splitter, so it has more sentimental value than anything. But we did have it on the machine probably like maybe a week or two ago, and I used it, and it still worked fine. But once we got the bigger 3-point hitch log splitter, which was homemade, you know, 30 or 40 years ago for a good friend, and it was meant to split big logs, and it was hooked up to a big tractor. So it was an excellent candidate for the transformation. And once we built that log splitter and we perfected it, it was just a godsend. It was like, I mean, I've seen, I've bought and used other log splitters, and I've purchased processors, and I've had, you know, the best of the best. I spent, you know, probably $10,000 on a used splitter that was $30,000, and I got rid of it because it just didn't work as well as what we had. And then I had conveyor belts and stuff like that. But once you once you have a skid steer and it's meant for tree service, it's kind of like paid for. So when you can add implements to it, like we've built cages and other implements, buckets, but once we figured out how to build a log splitter attachment, it was just, there's no other way to go, except for if you're buying timber that's meant to be split. If you're just basically cutting and splitting up wood from your tree service, it doesn't really work with a processor. It's just too knotty, it's too oblong. It's you know, each piece is different, so you have to kind of like pick and choose your pieces. Sometimes you have to throw some away. Sometimes it takes extra long to split individual pieces. And as you get good at it, you know, the process speeds up. But the combination of what we have is really hard to beat. You know, we have too many skids, have access to a third one, and we can split almost anything. And if you can't split it within about 2 or 3 tries, we just throw it to the side. And that's one of the reasons we're building another one. This splitter is going to be, I think, more powerful than the original one, because I mean, the original one is 30 or 40 years old. We've never repacked the cylinder. It's off like a tractor, like Outrigger or something, and it's just a beast. It's never leaked. And but it's, you know, you can tell it's just, the whole thing's getting wore out. We rebuilt it, like the deck and stuff, a few times, but it's to the point now where you can tell it's really wore, but it still works, and we keep patching it together. We're probably gonna have to build a new deck for it originally, or eventually, and rebuild the whole splitting mechanism on top. But it's firewood season, and we don't have the time to do that right now. So I thought the next best thing was just to go out and build another one. And I've been looking for quite some time, because I like the 3-point hitch setup, because usually they're big and beefy, and they're made with an I-beam, and they're just easier to transform into and attach your attachment plate. And just the way they're set up is just a lot better than buying a traditional log splitter in many ways. Like, for one, the pusher pushes against the splitter wedge, and the wood falls off the side. And when you do that, you can split right into a basket. I think it's just a little bit easier to do that. But eventually we'll probably build the other mechanism and see how that works. But for now, we're going to try to basically, you know, Xerox or clone what we have, because it works perfectly. We're going to, and the stroke is about the same. The cylinder is about the same length. The whole apparatus is really close spec-wise to the other one. So we're going to try to basically build it as close as we can to the original, because there's very little improvements we can do to the original besides just being old and wore out. So that's the thought process, and we should be done, depending on, I have a guy that comes in and works on it in his spare time, so I probably figure maybe another day or two it should be done. The attachment plate was supposed to be here. It got held up, so we'll probably have to wait till another day or two for the attachment plate to come in. We have the quick connects already here. They're working. We did a trial run. The cylinder is perfect for the setup. Basically, the only thing left to do is weld up the exactly where it's at and beef it and strengthen it. And then once we run it a few times, we might have to make some changes. We're going to start off with a single wedge, use that, and then eventually we're going to add on a 4-way. And I don't really like to go any more than 4-way, because we use, a lot of times we just want to split it in half. All we're trying to do is quarter it or half it and break it up and put it into IBC tote. And the reason we do that is because it's just a lot easier to handle, and we like to do the fine-tuned splitting on the other splitter, because the kinetic energy splitters are so much faster and so much more precise, and there's less waste. And so it's, a lot of people now want the wood in smaller pieces, and it dries out faster. It's easier to maneuver. It's easier for customers to pick up. So, and a lot of the people now have smaller stoves, and they're smoking, so they don't want the huge chunks. And then what we do is, if some of the pieces are harder to split, we set them off to the side, because there are a few customers that still have bonfires and campfires, and they want those chunks for overnight. You know, people that camp and stuff. So we still are able to accommodate them, because it's stuff that I would have thrown away or put in the junk pile or burnt at the shop. So we can still accommodate those customers that want big pieces, because we just basically give them the pieces that are too hard to split or take too much time to split. So anyway, I just wanted to wish you guys, hope you guys had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and just explain, the reason I keep making things, because I really enjoy it, and it also helps out the guys that work with us, and it gives them something to do. And if you're good at what you do, you like to do it. So if you're good at tree work, you like to do tree work, or if you're good at metal fab work, you like to do metal fab work. And when people come together and they have an idea, and it comes to fruition, and you can build something and collaborate with the guys you work with, and it's successful, it brings up the morale. And guys that, they see that you're trying to make their job easier and make their job more fulfilling. And it's like a whole cycle. Like, I try to talk people out of cutting down healthy trees, but if they're persistent and they want to do it no matter what, I'd rather be that person to cut down that tree. I try to talk them out of especially cutting down live oaks and stuff like that, or trees that don't need to be cut down. And we try to talk them into, just trimming them, for more than just one reason. Because if you cut down a tree, that's it. Those trees take, anywhere from 10 to 100 years to grow, and you can cut them down in 1 day or 2 hours. Also, too, if you're a tree service, we live in a bird and tree sanctuary. It's our responsibility to preserve the trees, and if at all possible, you want to try to do that. Also, too, it's in your best interest not to cut all the trees down. I mean, for one, basically you're cutting your own throat, because if you cut down all the trees, you don't plant any trees, there's nothing to trim in future years, and you want that repeat business. It's just like cutting the grass. If you kill all the grass, there's nothing to mow. It's like job security. You want to basically trim the trees, not cut them down. It's better for the environment. A lot of people, too, it's just education. A lot of people don't realize that these trees are actually protecting their house. They're lowering their energy bills. If you cut a huge tree down over your house, your electric bill is going to go up. But it's just general information that a lot of people don't like to share. They just like to cut trees down, and then, they don't think about the future. You try to plan ahead a little bit. So also, too, if we cut down trees, especially dead trees or any type of oak trees, we try to recycle that material. Instead of just going to a landfill, we cut it up and we split it up and we sell it for firewood or smoker wood. And, also, too, this gives us our guys in the slow time, we're able to pay our helpers and the people that work with us during the winter time. Because there's very little income, during Christmas and the holidays and Thanksgiving. So you don't have really any extra income unless you save a bunch or you sell firewood. And so in return, those trees and stuff you cut down, that can provide income for the tree service, so you can pay guys in the wintertime to do extra projects. And I love projects. I like building things. I like building things that make our lives easier. So it's just a big circle. It's like the circle of the tree service. You do as much as you can, and you save as much as you can, and you build as much as you can. And so it just makes it better for everybody. You purchase locally. Like I could have bought, I went online and I was looking for log splitters. You can purchase a skid steer log splitter for a cheap one for $1,500 or $1,600. Then you just cut the attachment plate off. You buy a mini skid attachment and you weld it on the side. So, I could have did that, but that would be like no work for my guys. And also, too, by the time you pay for shipping and everything, you're going to probably be at the same or more money. So I'd rather buy locally from someone local, and then take the money we get from Firewood and pay my guys to make more splitters or whatever the project is. So anyway, guys, So this video is getting long. It's almost 20 minutes. So I just wanted to share my thought process and kind of like why we decided to go with a homemade splitter and why we decided to basically rebuild the thing and make it work for us, because I'd rather keep it in the family and help the people that help me out. So if you like this video, please crush the like button and subscribe, and we'll bring you more little projects that help us make our lives easier. God bless you, and happy holidays and happy New Year.